Quick question, why are penguins trying to lobotomize psychics? Why are people trying to legalize psychedelics? Sorry, I've been conducting some, experiments. So anyways, now that weed is, well, quote-unquote legal in most of the United States, a lot of activists have decided that they want to move on to the next legalization battle, and as it turns out, they're actually making some pretty good progress. Psilocybin, the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, has been decriminalized in all of these different cities and has been completely legalized in one state, Oregon, a place so whitewashed it may as well be an episode of Friends.
Now, some of you out there are probably thinking, dang, maybe it's time to move to Oregon. I love Nike in Portlandia. Others are probably thinking, what medicinal use could there possibly be for being chased by a swarm of imaginary bats with the faces of everyone you went to high school with? For both of you, let's see if we can adjust those expectations just a little bit. Psilocybin is just one of many chemical compounds that produce hallucinations and other stimulating effects on the brain. A few others include dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, which is found in the ceremonial drink ayahuasca, mescaline, which is found in the plant peyote, and lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD. While the scientific community is still figuring out exactly how these compounds work, we do know that the molecular structure of these compounds very closely resembles a chemical in your brain called serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps your brain regulate mood, feelings of well-being, and overall happiness. If you're struggling with anxiety or depression, serotonin is the hormone that you wish you had more of. And when you ingest a psychedelic compound, it bonds to the receptors in your brain normally reserved for serotonin and stimulates them. But there's also a part of your brain that it turns off, which is something called the default mode network. The current theory is that this is the part of your brain that helps you create a sense of self, remember the past, imagine the future, produce moral judgment, and think about the minds and thoughts of others. It's essentially the part of your brain that talks to itself and acts as the leader or the conductor that controls how other parts of the brain talk to each other. When you're on psychedelics, this part of your brain goes quiet, allowing those other parts of your brain to talk directly in a way that they normally can't. This is where all the typical parts of a psychedelic experience come from: the hallucinations, the altered mood, losing track of time, synesthesia, and the occasional sense of being outside your body in the most intense cases.
It's also why some experts think that they could be used to treat stuff like anxiety and depression, which is great news for people like me because I've got both, or as I like to call it, the QPOC Daily Double. And here's a list of the medications that I've been prescribed over the years to try to treat it. We've got sertraline, we've got escitalopram, we've got my personal favorite, bupropion, we've got vortioxetine, we've got proprapanol, we've got hydroxyzine, and we've got gabapentin. So that's a lot of syllables and a lot of pills. So if I could manage my condition without having the entire Scripps National Spelling Bee in my medicine cabinet, that would be pretty cool.
As it stands, conditions like depression, anxiety, and social phobia are associated with overactivity of the default mode network. And it's not just about anatomy. Part of what characterizes conditions like addiction, anxiety, and depression is something called entrenched pathology, which is a fancy way of saying that harmful thought patterns get reinforced to a point where they're virtually automatic. By taking that self-talk part of the brain offline, the theory is that a psychedelic experience can help interrupt that pattern and replace it with a more profound experience that helps them gain new insight and reconnect to deeper parts of themselves. The other really wild thing about these compounds is that, in theory, they're not doing anything to your brain that it can't theoretically do on its own. Skilled practitioners of meditation, for instance, are able to reduce activity in their default mode network. But before you start texting your friends to try to find a plug, there are some things that you should know.
First, all the substances that we listed are classified as Schedule 1 controlled substances by the DEA, which makes them a crime to possess and ingest, and also makes them a lot more difficult to study. So yeah. Looks like my little mermaid stash of psychotropic meds is not going to be going anywhere for the time being.
And there need to be a lot more studies conducted before we can truly understand the benefits and potential risks of these drugs. And there are definitely risks, especially in those already at risk of self-harm or psychotic conditions. Not to mention that the jury is still out as to whether there might be any long-term side effects. And even if you're able to experience it safely, a lot of the initial research suggests that the benefits of these psychedelic-assisted treatments have a shelf life of anywhere between 3 to 12 months. So they are by no means a miracle cure for any mental health issues. And it's worth mentioning that ingesting anything doesn't count as a treatment unless it's done under the supervision of a professional. And no, your friend who wears Baja jackets and does shrooms in the desert with a so-called shaman does not count as a professional. So, if you're looking for a profound experience, might we suggest kicking back and expanding your mind with another healthy dose of video content.
I've got Zoloft and Prozac aplenty. I've got Valium and Paxil galore. You want Wellbutrin? I've got 20.
If there's any topic out there that's got you scratching your head and you're too scared to ask, you should totally send it our way. Tweet using the hashtag #QuickQuestion or email us at questions@brainjoltmedia.com. Don't forget to follow us, and remember, quick questions don't always have quick answers.